Okay. Yeah, far away.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to our webinar today. My name is Alan Bracken. The company is ABTS Training, and we're situated in the UK. Our webinar today is general questions and answers, and on the screen you can see already we have 7 questions there, which I'm going to answer. Before we go any further, on a personal note, I hope you're all keeping safe and well, and you're doing your best to self-isolate. I've been doing it since about 15th of March, and I've got a self-isolation hairstyle now falling around my face, and the self-isolation pallor of whiteness on my face. So I'm trying to make the best of it by staying in. Okay, shall we all start off now? And we look at these 7 questions, I should say, on your screen, and then if you wish, just put out some questions so I can pick them up and I can answer them for you as well. Apparently, there's about a 10-second time lapse between what I say and what you hear, or when you hear it. So I'm trying to allow for that as well. Okay, I'm going to skip on to 2 because question number 1 takes a bit of time and I don't want to rush anything. So let's fire ahead and look at question number 2. What are the basic steps involved in importing products into the UK? Okay. Basic steps are you would select a clearing agent, and this is before you import. You would select a clearing agent. What is a clearing agent? A clearing agent is an individual or a company who presents your customs entry to customs on your behalf. And as we speak in the UK right now, that is done on a computerized system called CHIEF, Customs Handling of Import and Export Freight, soon to be superseded by a new system called CDS. But the fact is that your basic steps are identify a clearing agent that can make your entry to customs. How do I identify a clearing agent? Quite simple. Just go online, put in a search engine, import customs clearing agents in, and as I'm in the UK, I'm going to use the UK as a model in, and as I'm in London, I will put, and it's coming in by air, in London Heathrow, or if it's by sea, in Felixstowe, in Southampton, in Liverpool. Excuse me. So you will come up with a bucket full of clearing agents. You contact those clearing agents and you would say to them, I will be importing palm oil next month. Tell me all about it. What's my import duty? Blah, blah, blah. So before you even start importing, you find out your basic information. How much import duty am I going to pay on this? What documentation does this clearing agent need from me? And do I pay VAT on this? And are there any concessions, like can I bring them in duty free? So that is the information you will receive from a clearing agent. And as I say, this is before you start importing. So you're ready. You're being, my old adage, be proactive, not reactive. You don't want to get a phone call from your clearing agent saying, you've got to pay 7% duty. And you say, that screwed the transaction. I can't handle 7%. So that's what are the basic steps involved in importing products into the UK? The simple answer is contact a customs clearing agent. Pick their brains, ask them what documents should you ask the company for that's shipping the goods to you. It is as simple as that, believe it or not. Next question, are cash against documents or documentary collections widely used now? Simple answer, yes, they are. I'll qualify that answer. In most occasions where a seller wants guaranteed payment, they will go for a letter of credit. The letter of credit is costly to open. And I'll give you an idea roughly. It's costly to open, and sometimes you got to think, is it worth it? If you're selling £2,000 worth of goods, you wouldn't do a letter of credit. You wouldn't ask your buyer for a letter of credit, because a letter of credit on an average, and don't quote me, on an average is about 250 for you to open. That's your bank fee. So cash against documents is used instead. And it's my word, but it's like a secondary type of guaranteed payment. For those of you who aren't too aware of it, basically this is what happens. The banks act as a middleman. So the seller ships the goods, and I'm using shipping as opposed to air freight for this example. The seller ships the goods. They send the documents, the relevant documentation, and in shipping would be a bill of lading, a certificate of origin, maybe a commercial invoice, any particular documents that the buyer will ask him for. So the seller sends those to his local bank with instructions. Please forward them on to another bank. I'm being very loose here, another bank in the buyer's country. So the documents are sent on to the buyer's nominated bank. The buyer's bank contacts him, says, documents are ready for your collection. Now, bearing in mind, he's kind of dead in the water, if you excuse the expression, without his bill of lading. Now, those of you into bills of lading could argue this point. So just let's say, for this illustration, that he's quite dead in the water without this bill of lading. So the buyer needs those documents to clear the goods through customs and to gain physical possession from the shipping line. So it's a transaction. The buyer, pays his bank the money, and his bank hands over, it's a swap, hands over the document. So it's quite secure. The downside of it is, and the question always asked of me at this point is, yeah, but what happens if the buyer doesn't have any money? Well, let's not go into it in too deep here. If anybody wants to know the complete answer to that, which takes quite a long time, send me an email. I'd be only too happy to talk to you privately or send you an email on that. So, cash against documents, a documented pleasure, widely used now. Yes, they are indeed. I can't give you percentage-wise, so I'm using the loose term. A lot of my clients use them because they're cheap and cheerful, less expensive than a letter of credit. Question 4. Can you import-export without registering as a company? Simple answer again, yes, of course you can. But there is one thing you have to do, and I'm talking about in the UK and the European Union here. You have to register with with HMRC, Her Majesty's Customs and Excise, and you've got to register with them for what is known as an EORI. And an EORI is an Economic Operators Registration and Identification Number. So that's all you have to do. So you don't need to be a limited company or a sole trader. You can import and export. You can import through a clearing agent. And the first question the clearing agent will ask you is, may I have your EORI? If you're using a freight forwarder to ship goods, you don't have to register. You can be just Mr. Plain Joe Bloggs. And the shipping line or the clearing freight forwarder, as the case may be, will say, yep, that's okay. What's your EORI? So that's the only thing you have to do. Let's not make life complicated. You can import without registering a company. And I'm talking about the UK. I'm not talking about the world. So what I would say to anybody listening outside the UK, double check on that one. How to set up and handle banking as a sole trader or a commission agent? Quite simple. Oh, thank you for these simple. Hello, Hilton. Welcome aboard. All of these questions, they're not taxing me today, which is great for me. How to set up and handle banking as a sole trader or a commission agent. Okay, let's use as an example a client of mine who has just started as a commission agent. And he asked me the same question, how do we go about it, Alan? So basically what you do is you go to your bank and you say to the bank, I wish to open a bank account as a sole trader or a commission agent. And they will ask you, okay, what's your trading name? And you might say, it's Joe Blogs, and I'm trading as Fast Imports. What a ridiculous name, but Fast Imports. So they set up your account, and your account reads Joe Blogs, trading as Fast Imports. Now, when I say it's as simple as that, I haven't taken into consideration your credit worthiness, whether the banks will entertain you or not. But I'm presupposing that you have an existing account, a personal account in the bank, and you're okay, you're a good boy or a good girl, as the case may be, finance-wise. So it is as easy as that. And in my client's case a couple of weeks ago, I think it was about a week before his account was opened. So quite easy. I'm thinking of a change in career and going into logistics. Well done, by the way. It's a brilliant business to be in, full of excitement might be the wrong word, but challenges, full of challenges, and it keeps the gray matter going for years and years and years. I'm a living example of that. So well done. What do I need to know? I have to really think and pause and try and condense this into a few sentences for you. So I'll start off by saying the very, very first thing you should do, as it's a career change and you've no previous experience, is to go on a course. To go on a course that teaches you about importing and exporting. Now, without a course, and I don't want to hear groans from everybody, oh yeah, he's leading up to saying, and go on my course. No, I'm not. I'm saying go on a course, go on a reputable course. If you really want to, I could twist your arm and say, come on our course, but it's essential that you know what you're doing. I started in logistics many years ago. And in England, there was only one course provider, a venerable old husband and wife team, long since gone. And when I started off first, I was taken to the cleaners by freight forwarders, clearing agents, transport companies, because I hadn't a clue what I was doing. I thought it was dead easy. I came from an accounting background, and I thought as a young man, I knew everything. And it was only when I realized I know nothing that I start going on courses. And even after the courses, I realized I'm only about a quarter way there. So what do you need to know? You need to know logistics. You need to know importing, procedures, documentation, exporting, procedures, documentation. You need to know your terms of payments, your letters of credit, your cash against documents. Because I'm assuming when you say you want to go into logistics, you're saying, I want to set up a company. Now, I have found over the years the questions as a freight forwarder, which I was for many years, the questions people ask you are not on courses, believe me, but you've got to know them. So you've got to have the ability to research, and you've really got to know what you're doing. And I strongly recommend do not even attempt to go into logistics until you have confidence in your ability. Please don't, because it'll be by the grace of God you'll succeed. So training. 7, should I handle freight forwarding in-house? Something like the question number 6, should I handle freight forwarding in-house? Yes, I'm one of those people who is a strong advocate of doing it yourself, starting up your own business. I just love to hear people starting up their own business. Should I handle freight forwarding in-house? I'm assuming when you say, should you handle freight forwarding in-house, is that you want to control your exporting of your products and control your importing of your products. Control your exporting of your products by not using a freight forwarder, and control your imports by not using a customs clearance agent. So I'm going to divide this answer into 2 parts. Should I handle freight forwarding in-house? Exporting. Yeah. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. There is no reason. Again, as long as you know how to conduct your freight forwarding business. And here's food for thought. Can you contact shipping lines directly? Yes, you can. You just go online and find out shipping lines sailing to Tima, shipping lines sailing to wherever. So you can do that. Can you talk the talk with the shipping line? Can you be sure the rate they're giving you for the freight, your freight or your client's freight, is a market freight rate, that they are not loading these charges? Now, anybody in the freight forwarding business, please click off, because I'm going to say something about you. And bearing in mind, I was a freight forwarder myself, but I didn't act like this. Freight forwarders have an uncanny 6th sense. And shipping lines are the same. They know when they're speaking to a total amateur. So they will pile on the agony. They will get the last ounce of blood from that stone on their charges and what they tell you, etc., etc. So if you want to do your own in-house freight forwarding, you truly have to know what you're doing. Just like the previous question, going into logistics, you truly have to know what you're doing. There's no better point than going on a good course, because otherwise you're the sacrificial lamb. If I was thinking of going in as a freight forwarder now, and I was selling, and I want to do my own freight forwarding, I would be very wary. For the first few times, I would use a freight forwarder and learn from them. And learning from them and going on a bona fide course, that's the way I would approach it today if I was starting all over again. I would not jump in the deep end without any knowledge. As far as freight forwarding and importing is concerned, I wouldn't touch customs clearing myself. It's a specialized job. I would leave it to the clearing agent and grin and bear it and pay your fee, which can be about £35 an entry as we speak today. So I hope I answered that as honestly as I could. Should I handle my own freight forwarding in-house? Yes. But the great provision is you know what you're doing, and I cannot emphasize that enough. You know what you're doing. You talk the talk. Otherwise, no. start off very gently by using freight forwarders and clearing agents. Right, I'm just going to stop here. Ganavo, hi to you. Thank you for joining us. Nitin, please explain what a commission agent is. You know, if we gave prizes out, Nitin, for questions asked, that would be prize number one. Everybody asks that. So, yeah, only too happy to do that. Martha, can you elaborate a little more on customs procedures and customs declaration? No problem. Nicholas, hi, could I ask a question on Incoterms? Who chooses the Incoterms to be used? Brilliant question. And I'll answer that one. Hulawin, Sue, I hope I've got that right. I apologize if I haven't got your name pronounced correctly. Thank you so much for sharing the valuable knowledge. It would be a good idea to import-export goods without visiting the factory. When's your next course? Thank you. Okay, I'm going to answer that question first. Because I get a little praise there. I'm told it's valuable knowledge. Okay. Is it worth visiting the factory first? Okay, now, those of you who are reading the UK papers, you might be aware that 80 metric tons, 400,000 protective garments for our hospitals were shipped, ordered by the government and shipped from Turkey. Now, that must have cost us, the taxpayer, an arm and a leg. And when they eventually got to the UK and were unloaded, they were examined and they were not fit for purpose. Get that? Not fit for purpose. So some idiot of a civil servant in the UK placed an order of that magnitude on an unknown, untried supplier and got a load of garbage. So now I'm going back to your question. Should you visit the factory before you buy? It depends on quantity. In that case, of course, the government should set up what is known as a PSI, pre-shipment inspection. And these pre-shipment inspections are undertaken by bona fide, internationally recognized agencies. These are completely guaranteed to be neutral. And you say to that agent, names, you can check them out online, COTECNA, COTECNA, SGS, Société Générale Surveillance, Intertek, INTERTEK, BV, Bureau Veritas. These are household names in the business. Any decent purchasing officer uses these. So yeah, for a large order, that is the first thing you would do. And you would say, go in and inspect the goods, and you would give them a standard to inspect by, random sampling to an ISO standard, etc., etc. When they complete that inspection, they issue a document called a clean report of findings, which basically says, yep, the goods are what you bought. And then you say to the shipper, ship the goods. And you only pay them if they present to you a clean report of findings issued by an independent agency. That's how it works. So importing goods without visiting a factory in small amounts, I wouldn't jump on a plane personally and go to Guangdong or anywhere else in China, for instance, which I do visit, but I visit as part of visiting with clients. So if the small orders, no, because the cost might outweigh the result. Having said that, if you intend to buy from Joe blogs in China. It's always China. And these are going to be repeat orders. Your initial order might be worth, say, £15,000 sterling. And it's clothes. And you're a wholesaler in clothes. So you're getting £15,000 worth in, and you haven't a clue whether it's going to be garbage or whatever. I'm not advocating a pre-shipment inspection, but what I would put in my contract is that part of this contract is I can ask you or implement a pre-shipment inspection anytime during this contract. And that puts kind of the fear of God into them. They say, oh, he hasn't asked it for the first order, or she hasn't asked it for the first order. So, but it's their prerogative in their purchase order that they can click in a PSI when they want to. So the words goes around the production line, for goodness sake, when you're making the garments for Joe Blogs, make sure they're perfect, because this guy could jump in with a PSI. So you can psychologically, you can work a PSI as well. Now, I hope that answers your question. When is my next course? My next webinar, usually about 3 weeks' time, but we will let you know what the subject is going to be, unless you ask for a favorite subject or something like that. I hope that satisfied you and was the answer you wanted. Remming speed. I think you missed my question from before, or did I miss the answer? Okay, I'm going to ask you, can you bung on that question again, please? And I'd be only too happy to answer. Nicholas, regarding bills of lading, how do you get your bill of lading? Who writes the bill of lading instructions? Brilliant question. One of the deepest mysteries in life is the question, Nicholas, you've asked me. So let's start off and be serious. How do you get a bill of lading? Okay, here's a quick gallop through a bill of lading. And this is the perfect way it's done. There's variations because we have the internet now, but this is the traditional way. And we'll use a 20-foot container being loaded in Hong Kong. And it's coming into Felixstowe in England. Okay, 20-foot container is put on board the vessel. As soon as the goods are put on board the vessel, the shipping line office in Hong Kong issues or makes out, whatever way you want to say, a set of bills of lading. And they are usually 3 originals and 3 copies. That's commonly known as a set of bills of lading. Okay? Who writes a bill of lading? The person who writes the bill of lading is the person responsible for the shipping of the goods, and depending on your term of delivery, your Incoterm of delivery. So let's just cut through that and say it this way. The buyer could say to the seller, you're doing my shipping for me, say a CFR contract. You're doing my shipping for me. So here is my bill of lading instructions. And the bill of lading instructions is instructions to, in this case, the buyer, the seller, and you're saying to them, when that container of mine is put on board the vessel and the shipping line wants to know what to put on the bill of lading, send them my bill of lading instructions. So the seller would send the bill of lading instructions to the shipping line, or if he was using a freight forwarder, and say, when the bills of lading are generated, this is what must be on them. So that is how the bill of lading is generated. It's generated through a document called Bill of Lading Instructions. Who makes it out? The party responsible for the shipping, or the buyer asking for particular bill of lading instructions to appear on the bill of lading itself. Nicholas, I hope I answered that to your satisfaction. Come back to me, please, if it hasn't. You have another question there. Hi, could I ask a question in Incoterms? Who chooses the Incoterms to be used? Another good question from you. It's up for grabs. Let me give you a practical answer to that question. As I say, it's up for grabs. If I'm placing an order on you, or a quotation, I should say, on you, I'd say, please quote FOB Felixstowe or FOB, whatever the local port is for the supplier, FOB Hong Kong. Now, the Hong Kong supplier might not like FOB. They might want to do CFR, cost and freight, because they make some money on the freight. Freight is a commodity. You buy it and you sell it. You put a margin, like buying a packet of cigarettes. You buy it wholesale, you put your margin on, you sell it retail. Freight's the same thing. So some companies do not like using anything. Some suppliers do not like using any Incoterm except the one most suitable for them. On a CFR, cost and freight, they quote you and organize the shipping for you. However, another company in Hong Kong could ask them, please quote me CFR Felixstowe UK. And the Hong Kong company might say, no way, we're not getting involved in shipping. All we do is you come along to our door in our warehouse in Hong Kong and collect your goods. So they would respond by saying, we only quote X works. So in answering your question, as I started off on it, it's really up for grabs. It really is up for grabs, because I usually find in trade that if there's a conflict in Incoterms, the seller usually capitulates and goes along with the buyer because they don't want to lose the order. That's fairly normal. But nobody is the answer. Nobody, Nicholas, nobody. It's either party, the buyer or the seller, and it depends on how each of them work. As I say, the seller might haven't a clue about exporting, makes an excellent product, but hasn't a clue about exporting, doesn't want to get involved with freight forwarders and all that stuff. So it's saying, no, it's X works. The buyer, reciprocally, might want to get involved in shipping. He just wants the stuff delivered to Felixstowe docks. So they will say, no, I wanted CFR. So that's up for grabs. I'm sorry I can't be more precise on that, but it really is. Okay, you're welcome. And that's who chooses the Incoterms. I was wondering, okay, good question. Remming speed, I was wondering if working with a clearing agent is compulsory, or does a clearing agent have more of an advisory function? Oh my goodness, no, not as an advisory function, not at all. It's not compulsory, but just let's look at the financial logistics of it. If you want to go it alone, and I'm talking about the UK now. If you want to go it alone, we've kind of hit on this about 20 minutes ago, and you want to do your own importing, first of all, you've got to set yourself up with the HMRC chief package. I'm a very non-technical guy when it comes to computers. So you buy the package to be able to show chief customs handling of import and export freight on your computer. And then you've got to learn how to make a customs entry on chief. This is a heck of a financial burden on you. So if you're going to do it on a commercial basis for everybody, yes, it might be worth your while. connecting to chief and going on government-sponsored courses on how to become a clearing agent. Yes, you could do that. And you could recoup your money by selling your services out to the general public who want to clear their goods through customs. Yeah, you could do that. But it's not compulsory. You don't have to do it. And clearing agents really are not there for an advisory function only. I always advocate that you use your clearing agent as an unpaid consultant, like ringing them up and saying, look, I'm going to bring in some palm oil from Ghana. Can you tell me the tariff number? What's the import duty right now? Is there any import restrictions? Do I need an import license? Do I need a phytosanitary certificate? Blah, 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 blah. So a clearing agent can act in an advisory function in that respect. But if you keep on ringing them up, eventually you will hear click and they just get rid of you. They don't want to, they're saying, oh, this lady, this gentleman wants his free advice. So no, they're not there for an advisory function. Their advisory function is a complementary service to you engaging and paying them to be a clearing agent. Okay, I hope that helps. I'm just running down the list here and seeing, I was wondering if working for a clearing agent is compulsory. No, we've answered. Thank you. Thank you, Nicholas. You've answered the question comprehensively. Here's a new one. Balaji, excuse my pronunciation, Mohammed. Can this process work in the USA? I live in the United States. What branch of the international import-export is best for me to start a business in? Okay. In answering the question indirectly, if you're in the UK, and as far as I'm aware, most of European countries, I stand corrected on that one. But if you want to start an I'm just reading a question again, hence the pause. Can this process work in the USA? I live in the United States. What branch of international import-export is best for me to start a business in? To be very honest with you, I don't get the gist of your question. I would like you to, are you saying you want to go into importing and exporting commodities, goods as a business? Or are you saying you want to become an import clearing agent and an export freight forwarder? Because I can't get my head around that one. So is it that you want to just start an import-export business in the States? Can this process work in the USA? Now, I'm not too sure what process you're referring to and what answer I answered. Could you just answer, just say, no, I want to start an import-export business, or no, I want to become a clearing agent or a freight forwarder in the USA? Then I can give you a 100% accurate answer. Otherwise, I think I'd be waffling a bit because I really don't have a handle on your question. So I'd appreciate that again. Okay. I think I think I've got it, because you say down there, I want to become an export freight forwarder and import clearing agent in the States. Thank you. 100% clear. To become an import agent in the States is more involved than it is, say, in the UK. In the UK, as I just previously mentioned, all you have to do is purchase the software from HMRC or one of its authorized software houses and download Chief, and off you go. And anybody can do it, which is very, very frightening when you think about it. Anybody can become a freight forwarder in the UK. Anybody can become a clearing agent in the UK if they're silly enough not to have previous knowledge. In the USA, it's different. I don't deal with USA a heck of a lot. Maybe it's about 6 years ago since I went to the USA working with clearing agents. But I do know one thing, you have to be registered. And I am assuming that you have to sit some form of test to be registered, which is a wonderful thing, which I think is absolutely brilliant, because you know that you're using a bona fide, qualified clearing agent. Now, as far as freight forwarding is concerned in the States, I really can't give you a qualified answer because I've no personal experience on freight forwarding in the States. So I'm giving you an educated guess. I would say you could become a freight forwarder with minimum registration. I'd be very honest with you. I would suggest if you Google in what qualifications do I need to become a freight forwarder or a clearing agent in the States? All I can say to you is it's much more difficult than it is in the UK. In the UK, you jump out of bed and you say, I think I'll be a freight forwarder today. Or I think I'll be a clearing agent today. And there you go. You're a freight forwarder, a clearing agent. In the States, among other countries, but in the States, it is more buttoned down. So I would check that one out because I do not want to give you wrong information. Okay. Right, looking at everything, I seem to have cleared the board with questions, and I really do appreciate those questions. They're all very good, practical questions. And I hope my answers satisfied you all. And if you have anything else there, I'm not in a mad hurry, but if you have anything else there, I'll be only too happy to answer the questions. Now, I'm going to take a hands up from you all. Have you any more questions for me to address? Is everybody out there satisfied if I close down within 5 minutes this webinar? There's no rush. Ask any question you want, and I will do my honest best to answer to you. So I'm going. Thank you. Thank you for thanking me, Virginie. Thank you. I don't think there are any other questions. Thank you, Alan. You've answered my questions, Nicholas. That's great. That's great. Okay. Well, look, guys and ladies, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close down in a few minutes. We have some courses coming up, which you'll see appearing on your screen in a moment. And what I'm doing right now is I'm writing a course on how to become an agent, a commission agent, a clearing agent, and a sourcing agent, which nobody ever thinks about. And that should be around, we could be putting advertising that around July. So if anybody's interested in asking for the syllabus, you can always ask for the syllabus and see if it's suitable for you. But the course is built around webinars where people have asked me questions, and I thought it's about time I put a course together for people. So that's coming up. Our export-import course is opening up again very soon. And I believe, I'm not the finance guy around here, I leave that to others, but I believe that is £149. There's a discount on that. I'm really hopeless at promoting my courses. I really am. I can't shout out and say, come on, our course, it's the best in the world, etc., etc. Although it's a damn good course. So I'm just waiting for my colleague to put up another notice here. So he's not doing it. So here I am blabbling on, waiting for him to do it. So I just tell you, I've already told you really. We are starting up the export-import course again. If you're interested in taking on an export-import course, go onto our website and it tells you all about it. And the next webinar, as I say, maybe 3 weeks away. If any of you people out there want me to devote a webinar to any particular subject, please let me know. Let me know, and I'd be only too happy to do that. Or if you have any of the subjects for the next webinar, please let me know. So, okay, I'm going to close down here. I hate listening to webinars where the guy waffles on and on and on, and I'm beginning to waffle on and on and on. So I'm going to stop here now. Thank you all for joining my webinar. I actually love presenting these webinars. It's a good time, I suppose, because most of us are in lockdown. So it's a good time to attend a webinar. I wish you good health, everybody out there. And please take care of yourself and your families and your loved ones. And don't do silly things like we see people doing in UK here, all sitting around a park having a picnic or popping a couple of cans of beer and all this rubbish. So I wish you good health, everybody. May your God bless you. And without going into a religious ceremony and clappy happy, I'm going to say goodbye. And I hope some of you are around for the next webinar. Take care, everybody. Bye now. Oh, hang on. Are you still out there? Nicholas, are you still out there? About a bill of exchange? Can you just say yes if you are? Okay, well, I'm going to answer the question whether you like it or not. Okay, Nicholas, could you ask one more question? Of course you could. A question on bill of exchange. Can you issue a bill of exchange drawn on someone else's bank account? Yes, you can. I don't know the exact circumstances you're referring to. If you would like to send me an email to elaborate on it, but yes, a bill of exchange can be drawn on anybody's account. Usually the bill of exchange is drawn on the buyer's account, but if the buyer wants you to draw it on somebody else's account, once the bank that it's drawn on accepts it, you're okay. Yeah, you're okay. Okay, guys, thank you for all the thank yous. And Nicholas, I hope I answered that one for you okay. Okay? Maybe see some of you again. Take care now. Bye-bye.